at him so much.
Who?
Mr. Jordan Klein behind the glass.
He's just
legitimately upset at me. Oh, there we are. Talk to the hand because the face ain't listening.
Go get your instruments behind you and relax.
You didn't pick up on that.
No. Greetings, golf fans. Welcome to PGA DFS Live Before Lock from Awesemo.com. I am Ben Rasa. That is Eric Lindquist. You guys know the drill. We're ready to talk more golf. The Olympics are over, but that doesn't mean that the PGA season or the golf season or whatever type of season you want to talk about ends. We keep on rolling, and we've got a good one for you here. We've got a WGC, so we're sticking to the same format as last week, Eric. Good to have you here on this lovely Wednesday night. We started the day with a show, and now we're going to end the day with a show. How are you today?
I was going to say, we've experienced this entire day together. Quite literally. We were in the horse streets hanging out this afternoon.
We were.
Could have been ridiculous. I mean, you were onto something, and then, I don't know, when you have a 6-5 favorite that ends up getting torched the next race, not an enjoyable feeling.
No, some good, some bad. You know what? That's what we're doing in these Awesemo things. A lot going on, busy. We got tennis people, we got soccer people. We are the golf people, so that's what we're going to focus on here. Chat, it's good to see you guys. Obviously, hope your Olympics went well. We are going to focus on the FedEx St. Jude Classic here. It used to be a traditional tournament. Now we've moved to a non-cut the last couple years. And that's really why I want to get things started. You know, with the weather and the withdrawals, nothing really to report. Do you see anything on that front? Withdrawals, I think the big question is with Brooks, but he seems to be good to go. Who knows what that was today?
Yeah, so I CC'd you and Jason on Twitter just to kind of look at it. And I'm not going to get pulled into knee gate 2021 again after the US Open, where I kind of hit eject a little bit early, probably should not have, but he's looking to be popular at least. And so there's some reasoning to possibly going a little bit lighter here in this spot. Now I'm curious to see what you think about this entire top grouping, because different than other golf tournaments where, you know, we kind of know where the top end is. I mean, these WGC events with 4 guaranteed rounds, who you pick at the top end is really going to kind of make or break your week, because you know kind of the value guys that you're going to gravitate towards. And I've got a couple guys that I'm just going to be heavier on. And it's not that they're necessarily going to make or break my week as much, because like the difference between Morikawa and Schauffele, you can't play them together in the same lineup really. So you got to pick one of the two, and which one you do, which one you side with. Yeah, it's going to be a big deal.
I mean, we saw that last week at the Olympics. Like you have to have Xander, of course. If a big time name wins, it becomes a tournament within a tournament. And it's very difficult because you can't get to all these guys, and they're all world-class players. So we know that weather is mitigated just because there's not really tee time stacks, because, you know, it's only 68, 78 type players, not a full 156 or anything like that. Our man Cole in chat, what's up, dude? The contenders video, our man Josh Engelman, he's on vacation. We gave him a week off. So what we did instead, me and Eric actually did a breakfast menu this morning, and we talked a little PGA in there. The official PGA contenders video will be back next week, just as new. But for this week, we had to change it up because Josh is on vacation. So hope he's enjoying it. Appreciate you watching that, though. We really enjoyed that video. One of my favorites of the week. It's going to be hot in Memphis. All right. No win, though. That's what I like to hear. And also, Eric, what I like to hear, Monkey Knife Fight sticking with us, sponsoring this show. I like that. What do you got a look on your face? What's going on over there?
Well, look at our producer. What's going on with this guy?
He's a character behind the glass.
I can't. I'm trying to stay focused over here. I'm a professional, and the guy's just, I don't know. He's chewing gum into the camera in a very diligent fashion. I don't enjoy this.
Very, very unprofessional. That's how we roll around here. But true professionals, Monkey Knife Fight. If you guys have not been over there, they've got everything going on, whether it's the NBA, which is in the off season, UFC, which is going on, PGA, esports, soccer, and soon, of course, the NFL, which we're all excited. So many ways to play. Go over to monkeyknifefight.com, choose which game you want to play, your buy-in level, your contest type. I know, Eric, you've been doing a lot of videos on there, a lot of different types of props that you can get down with and try out, and game selections are really, really intricate over there. Use the promo code Awesemo when you sign up. You're going to get an instant first match deposit bonus of up to $100. No reason not to just do that. Try it out and see what you guys think. So definitely go and sign up today. But let's just move on. Like I said, we'll save some time with weather and withdrawals. I don't see anything worth talking about. It's going to be hot, no wind, Sounds fine. The question that's looming, though, and this is one we really only have to deal with once every 4 years, I guess. Is there an Olympic hangover? Is there something to a lot of this field flying directly from Tokyo off what is I don't know how it ranks. It seems like the guys really enjoyed it. More and more players said, I went there with kind of low expectations, and then I got kind of the Olympic fever, and I couldn't believe how into it I was. Can't wait for Paris. Do you think there's a natural lull flying to a WGC after that?
It's such a weird thing to talk about because like flying for them is different than flying for you or for me. Maybe not you. I guess I could see you doing some first class Tokyo back and forth.
Yeah, that's right.
With like premium sushi sitting on your lap and maybe a nice back rub.
I had sushi tonight.
Look at this. We're just in sync already, even though we're going to disagree probably on every player today, but I digress. I think, well, it's very possible. It's just how we roll. It would make more entertaining TV or stream or whatever you want to call it. Anywho, I don't think it really has to be something we go crazy about, because are we going to just downgrade every single person in this field just because they got done? I think the one guy that it probably affects more than anything is the guy who wins the gold medal, and Xander Schauffele. I have to imagine you probably didn't sleep much the night after that. You probably want to hang out and party and enjoy the fact that you're now a gold medalist. That's got to feel pretty good. Justin Rose, I'm trying to remember back to 2016. I feel, because I mean, that was when I started kicking up my PGA DFS. I feel like he had a couple lulls where he was just like flashing his gold medal around at tournaments. Wasn't like as nearly as invested, just living his life, but it's a young kid that still has a crazy amount of talent, and he's obviously playing well. So I don't think I want to hit complete eject, but maybe the guy that you probably point to and say, yeah, probably a little bit of a hangover.
Yeah, I think that's, listen, Xander's a world-class player. I'm not really changing what I'm doing with him. The other guys, I would have said Siwoo and Sanjay, particularly if they were in the hunt for a medal, because that, we all know about what that could have meant, but they really weren't in contention. So I don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest. The guys that were in, the Paul Caseys, the Rorys, I really think you have to kind of play it straight up. We don't know. Some of them are going to play bad, and then people will point to saying, yeah, they flew from Tokyo, but there's going to be other guys that play good. And I think that it's really just hit or miss, just like
how do you quantify it? How do you quantify it? Like, you're grasping at straws, and that's, so I've always find it interesting travel. It's not like, I mean, there were plenty of days, and if it were a golf course that was a brand new WGC, that would be another component of it. But this is a golf course that a majority of the field has seen a couple times, if not a bunch.
Absolutely. So that's one of the positives about this week. We've seen TPC Southwind a lot. Again, some of it was in traditional stroke play in the sense of a full field with a cut. And now we've gotten for WGC the last couple of years. And let's go there. Let's talk about TPC Southwind. Par 70 layout, I think a little more technical. There is some water that can certainly get guys into trouble. It's in play. What do you think of it? I mean, it kind of, to me, seems like a Florida-esque course with the Bermuda and whatnot. Is that what you see, or do you see something else?
I hope it plays like a Florida-esque golf course, because I'm going to be playing a lot of guys who play well in Florida. That's kind of going to be my make or break. Well, especially some of my value pieces. There's one guy specifically under 7K that if he doesn't play well, I'm probably going to just pack the clubs, slam the trunk, and call it a day. But yeah, it's going to set up very Florida-esque. You have the Bermuda greens. We have a number of data, like years of data here at one golf course. It's not TPC Sugarloaf, like I said on the breakfast menu for sure. But that just tells you that I do know golf, because who pulls out TPC Sugarloaf without knowing a little bit of something
when
about
you
golf?
Said it, I was just like, I didn't even know what that was.
No, it's in Georgia. It's a golf course I've actually played. I've never played this one, but
neither have I.
Southwind. Yeah, it's a beautiful golf course. I believe the most water balls on tour. Is that a factual statement as well?
I don't know that. I don't have it in front of me, but I do know that if you said that, it's certainly believable, because as I said, water is definitely in play here. One of the many defenses that this course has, but I think it's like anything else. You're going to have opportunities to be aggressive off the tee. It's not just, bombers can't win. We saw DJ dismantle a field here several years ago. And of course, DJ can play anywhere, but it's really about, can you dial in your irons? Can you make putts on Bermuda? Timely scrambling. It's an all-around test. And these are the best players in the world. I believe it is 47 of the top 50 in the world are here. This is a major-esque field. we just don't have as many names to choose from. But is there any specific skill sets that you're banking on, or is it just straight up?
I mean, it's strokes gain approach for sure. You've got smaller greens, just the sizing of these greens. It's a different kind of a beast in that regard. And we saw JT here last year. I mean, if you're just pegging these greens, you're getting a leg up on the field. And I'm not saying also, I might be factoring in, and I'm curious what you think about this, just around the green a little bit more too, because you're going to miss greens on these smaller spots. And you got to just kind of get it up and down, make your pars and spots. And as I said, it's not necessarily a bomber's golf course. So I think kind of factoring those two in a little bit more, hitting it far. We've said it, I don't know, 50 million times on this show now. Hitting it far is never a bad thing. That's why you see a guy like Dustin Johnson still have success at a place like this, because he does everything else well. But around the green, a little bit of a bump up, but definitely for me, if you're hitting your irons well, I want to be invested.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It is tricky, smaller green complexes. You're going to need to scramble at times. I don't think it's super difficult scrambling where you're going to be extremely punished. You just have to be able to get up and down. Certainly you can mask it with putting. That's kind of where we're at here. I think it's going to be a middling, there's going to be streaks, there's going to be bonuses. It's not going to be a birdie fest like John Deere, but it's also not going to be, we don't really see, barring ridiculous weather, brutal conditions anymore on tour, even at US Opens. I mean, they've been much more gettable in recent years.
Agreed. It's more gettable. Also, the guys are just so much better around the greens that it kind of elevates everybody's stats together. It's really hard to, I'm not sure all the ways that the metrics work, but from my understanding, it's also compared to the field as opposed to, so it's strokes gained on the field. It's not just strokes gained. Here's the metric and we're going off of that, correct?
Yeah, of course. So like this course certainly is going to get torn up a lot more in a WGC because the best players in the world are tackling it. If you brought a terrible field here, the course may seem more difficult because of the field strength. So it's all relative and whatnot. Oh, our friend of the show, Mike Campbell, really appreciate that, buddy. Loyal listener. I will donate
PGA
that to
the DFS golf fans. That's all I had.
Jason Roslin haircut fund. But I really can't talk here. One last thing before
that was my best impression. I love that, man. Jason Roslin. That was not bad. We are going to break down today's PGA DFS.
Oh, look at this guy. He's got a whole new career. After we get these picks wrong and you get fired, you could be Do
you love Jordan Spieth as much as I love Jordan Spieth? Because I love Jordan Spieth.
You see this? Are you done? You got a lot of energy for
massacred Jordan Klein. I was gonna say I've only been up for 14 hours.
Yeah, I know you're rolling. I'm running on fumes over here. You're got it dialed in. All right, one last thing, chat, before we get to the top tier. This is actually very exciting news. There's some things not super excited about, but one, we also have a kind of a secondary sponsor. It's Betting You, and if you haven't heard about Betting You, it is a brand new podcast that we have started here at Awesemo. Podcast only content, and it's for college football. Me and Matt Kajeski doing it every week. So if you want to know who's going to win the Heisman, national championship contenders, or just who's going to make you some money each and every week with these spreads, we're going to be breaking down each and every games, the DFS side of things, all of these questions. Episodes are dropping every Wednesday. We might have a couple dual episodes this week as the season rapidly approaches. They're on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go and check that out. Leave that 5-star review. We really do appreciate that. Subscribe to the feed, all those things. But if you're a college football fan, there's no better person than listening to Matt's advice. I love doing the show with him because it gets me ready for the season. So just wanted to throw that out there. But enough of that. Let's get into the players. We've got 6 guys north of 10K. One guy who's at 11K. It's Colin Morikawa who leads pricing. Gold medalist Xander Schauffele, then Brooks, then Spieth. DJ, who I bet at 20-1. And Rory McIlroy. So where are you drawn of the top 6 options? Are you going to double up top? How do you approach something like this?
Oh, I can't like iron players and not like the best iron player on planet Earth. So give me some Colin Morikawa this week. I don't see a way to avoid him on this golf course whatsoever. Smaller greens also means shorter putts. Like you're going to have shorter putts than normal. The guy leg putting, we don't have to think about those kind of things. And of course, he putted the absolute lights out of it. We don't have all the strokes gain data from the Open Championship, but my God, did he make everything that we watched for, I don't know, all 4 days. So I think that that's probably going to bode well for him here. comes out. It was disappointing for him not to get in the medal stand, which also an underrated part of me talking about. We were just talking about how bad we're running. How bad is it to not cash a medal for Rory McIlroy or Morikawa when I had both those numbers as opposed to just betting them as top fives? That would have been a much better experience for my life. But instead, I'm just riding this massive anti-heater, I would say, in some of the golf betting here. But I think we're going to rebound this week. And I think a large part of what I'm doing on DraftKings is figuring out a way to just play an 11K Morikawa. The ownership is a little bit more spread out amongst other guys. And so I'm just happy to be getting what I think is the best iron player in the field underneath 15% right now. Feels like an easy plug and play.
It's interesting because he is, in my mind, he is firmly overpriced, but that's okay because it's pretty soft. You can get there. Best iron player in the world, not up for debate. He's obviously a world-class player. It's not like he shouldn't be amongst the highest. Him at 11, some of these other guys, I think they're probably all about equal. Obviously, they can't structure it like that. I wish they did, though. Wouldn't it be interesting if they just had everybody at 10-5 or something like that? That would be...
I don't know why they don't. I mean, maybe it sets up a little bit more like tiers, like when we're playing a lot more tier contests where you pick one golfer out of a grouping, and that's exactly what it would kind of become. And maybe there was some overlap there. I think also having the different salaries avoids people from, when you look at the same guy, he can end up being optimal in one build. If they're all at the same number, you basically have to get that range correct. And there's not like the opportunity for a 10-8 guy to still not be optimal so long as the 10-6 guy beats him. But we're not probably going to go talking about math on that too much, but it makes sense where I think there's a reasoning why they do it. And I think it's probably correct.
Yeah, I'd actually agree with that. It still would be interesting, but this is probably the smart way to do it. I have no problem with Morikawa. Certainly, listen, the reality, you have no problem with any of these guys. I am drawn to Rory. I know that's not a surprise, but I haven't been playing him, honestly, that much. He's flat 10, so you get the best discount. He was fine at the Olympics. He charged late, wasn't able to really get there. And, one of the things I like, not that, again, it's hard to quantify, but I will say I've seen Rory bounce back. When he missed the cut, this comes to mind at the Open Championship in Northern Ireland, and it was devastated. He came here to the WGC at St. Jude the next week, and it was always like, man, is Rory, how can he get up for this? And he came in fourth, and he was fine. He played very, very well that week. So we know he can flip the switch, can certainly drive the ball well, prefers Bermuda. And I actually think sometimes these courses in Florida actually suit him very, very well. We've seen it, at API and at the Players at Sawgrass. He can win at these events. So no problem with him. But what are you doing with Brooks? I know that's the hot topic. Are you changing what you were going to do based on what we saw? Or are you sticking to your plan?
So earlier in the week, also ownership has come down a little bit on him. He's underneath 20%. And that becomes a little bit of a different question. I think I'm still going to be firing him. Course history, him and DJ 1-2 somehow in lockstep there. They're both very, very good. We've seen a first and a second from Brooks Koepka here in the past. It's a golf course that I just think sets up really well for him. I would much rather click on his name than Jordan Spieth. Also, that will not surprise anybody whatsoever. But yeah, some of his results here, Brooks Koepka has been much better. And now 4th, 5th, 6th, 3 tournaments, PGA Championship, the second, obviously there. That's a ridiculous stretch of golf. He's playing much, much better. Not the Brooks we saw earlier in the season. He's a guy that I've never really gotten right, but I think it's kind of hard for me at 10-4 at 10-6 to not be at least a little bit invested in this spot because he just seems to be gaining a little bit everywhere. We know that he kind of gears up for bigger events. I would put this in the classification of a bigger event. So at least there's that, a little bit more so than the Travelers where everybody was hitting eject and he still finished 5th. So if he's playing well everywhere, you got to just keep playing him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Brooks he's just doing his thing. Certainly prefers Bermuda. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely dominated these greens when he won here, gained 9 strokes putting that week. And he can do that. I mean, when Brooks is at his best, it's kind of the formula. Hit a lot of greens, convert some of the putts, and make no mistakes. And certainly when you've got a lot of water, that is the name of the game. Will Rory be wearing a hat? I think he will. I think he's back to wearing a hat this week.
These are the important questions.
The hard-hitting analysis.
Oh my God. Only get. Will he? I mean, I don't know, but maybe we should talk to him.
Dustin Johnson, I have no problem with. I think the downside is more than these other guys. I like him as a bet. There's 20-1s out there. To me, that's just, I almost would bet DJ anywhere at any time at 20-1. So that's what I did there. I don't have an opinion on Spieth, to be honest. He seems fine, but he's not my priority.
Definitely not mine either.
Okay.
I can't be doing any more DJ. I was on him earlier in the week, so I went on Eitan's show here a couple times and absolutely love talking sports with him over on he does the iHeart Radio show, and he's you guys have seen him around the channel. He just does a great job hosting, and we were just talking about guys, and I think I was higher on DJ just as an outright as well. I think that made some sense. He had played this golf course so well. Dustin Johnson turned it up coming, into July and August after a really ridiculously bad beginning of his summer, and just started torching everybody, running all the way up to the Masters in November that year. But I think on this golf course, you got to have maybe a tiny bit. I don't know, 14% as opposed to me just liking Morikawa, liking a couple of these guys even more. And, I have like a set amount of lineups that are required to play Justin Thomas per week that I just need to put in a furnace and burn.
Yeah.
Just drop kick me in the face, dude. Just it would hurt a little bit less, but I don't mind DJ if you want to go that route. I just think same as you, he's so boomer bust, and I think I'd rather take my boom bust options cheaper than at 10K or 10-2.
Yeah, there's just a lot of opportunity cost, and depending on how many lineups you're making, certainly you're probably going to have exposure to most of the top just because it's the nature of a WGC. My priorities are Rory. Honestly, I have no problem with Morikawa, or let's get to it, the balance build a little more. You've got Justin Thomas at 99, Hovland at 97, who always plays well. Louis, who's just been, what can you say about Louis? He's as consistent as you get. He gains strokes everywhere, every week. He hasn't done anything crazy stupid in a long time. I don't know. I like him. Then you've got Bryson, who is back off COVID. He's really tempered expectations, said he lost some weight, doesn't expect much from himself. He's going to be very low owned, though, and he is guaranteed 4 rounds, barring him, obviously withdrawing, which, seems unlikely. Let's start there. You've got 3 guys, JT struggling, Hovland and Usti are super consistent, and Bryson, is Bryson. So what do you do with him, and what do you do with this upper nines?
I'm not touching Bryson. This week is not a Bryson week. I think writing him off makes my life just a lot easier. I think is the word unnecessary, because we know he has upside. We know that he's very boomer bust, but this does not seem like the golf course where I want to be kind of plugging and playing any amount of Bryson. And maybe that'll come back to bite me. I have 0% of him. I don't even have him in my pool for this week. Feels like kind of a way for me to go to my Louis, and Louis sub 20% again. Man, everything's so flat because you have such quality players up top here, and there's no question about it. It's not that Louis needs to break through and win. I don't care about that. The guy's the most consistent dude right now. It's such an easy play for me underneath 20%. I love starting my lineups with either, a combination of JT and him. Even Morikawa and him I can do pretty easily. He's probably my second favorite guy above 9,500 alongside Morikawa. And then JT, again, it's just, I can't quit the dude. And if you were to go out and back-to-back win this thing and I wasn't invested, I would never forgive myself because I'm in such a hole with him this season.
Yeah, if you want to take a silver lining with JT, the one place he's looked good this year was Sawgrass. So maybe that's something. And even Louis, he's had his chances at Valspar and at the Players. So everything, all systems go. I will say this, just because it's important to update. I thought Bryson was an interesting tournament pivot. I still do think that, but I have tempered expectations as well. Just seeing, okay. I was expecting him to say, I got COVID. I feel, better and I'm ready to go. We're going to see what's what. He was just like, eh. And obviously he had some other comments that are swirling around, which I don't think that's going to affect him.
Man, I just can't even with that guy.
Not going to affect him on the course, but he just doesn't, it wouldn't strike me if he really doesn't have it here. So the risk is certainly immense. I actually shorted him in the betting markets on head-to-heads. I think that's a pretty interesting, you can get him versus Louis, him versus JT. I think Bryson always has that upside, but his downside is just non-competitive this week. So that's where I'm at, in line with you with those guys. It's hard to talk about Usti right now in a negative light. He's playing world-class golf, and he has been basically all year. We get to the mid to lower nines. You've got Hideki, Cantlay, Berger, who absolutely loves this course, Scheffler and Casey. These guys are no slouches either. Casey's been playing phenomenal all year, had a chance. He was who I really needed to hunt down. Xander was unable to do it last week. What do you make of the nines? Are you going to have room to get these guys?
Probably not in any of my major builds. I'm not going to have a lot of room kind of I don't know. Scotty Scheffler is the one guy you got to kind of prioritize a little bit. You talked about him a little bit earlier. I will
like him.
I'll save him for you for sure. Paul Casey, another iron player. I got to have a little bit of him, but I would rather have the security of the Colin Morikawa and also just crazy amount of upside as well. It's hard for me. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick should be a 2-time winner of this golf tournament, probably. And he's, not quite there. I don't want to bring that up either as well. I've heard stories. I believe, I don't know, was that 2 years ago? I can't remember. It was before you and I knew each other, but I think you referred to it a little bit here the other day. I will let you talk about that as well. But on this lower nines range, I don't want to play Berger. I don't want to play Cantley and Hideki. Another guy that I bet has a little bit more of the hangover. So if I'm going to also put Xander into that, he just got done playing in his home country, just grinding, and you do more press probably being from Japan. You probably are, maybe he's a little bit relieved to get out of that as well, but he played very, very well over the course of that stretch. Another iron player. I just can't fit absolutely everybody in this upper range. You got to make some stands. And so again, Morikawa, Louis, moving on with my life for the most part, but in 150 stuff, I absolutely will have a little bit of everybody in this range. Just, I can't see myself getting to the field on anybody.
That's fair. Yeah. I think that, when you're classifying it, Berger and Casey, I think are the cashiest plays, really consistent, great course fit, playing well. Price is fair. I see no downside. I expect them to both be pretty popular though. I like Scheffler. I bet him at 31-1, 3 top 10s in the last 4. Eventually he's going to close one of these down. Extremely good driver of the ball. Everything else is fine. If he has a surface, I think I'd prefer him on Bermuda. Seems like this course will be no problem. I don't think it's the best course in the world for him, but at the same time, I think that's fine. And then Cantley's the wild card. I like the course fit. He used to be someone who played so sporadically, and when he played, he was always ready to go. He had a string of 4 missed cuts in a row earlier this year. Then he wins at Memorial when Rahm gets sick, misses the cut at the Open. He was fine at Travelers. I don't know where he's really at. I think he's a fine play. I would prefer to pay up and go get Usti, Hovland, or JT, or probably pay down to Scheffler, Casey, or Fitzy. But at the same time, Patrick Cantley is a world-class player, and he's worth talking about.
But it's so tilting because the one part of his golf game that lacks at times, and it's just showing up in the numbers too, is his approach game. And the irons, they disappear at random times. And when they spike, you see the Memorial 6.1 strokes gained approach, PGA 7.9. He had an awful around the green and putting week, but those are kind of the things that show that he has the upside to kind of go out and win. But then you see even at the US Open where he finished 15th, he lost strokes gained approach, missed cuts at the Wells Fargo Heritage, all below, and the Players as well, all below a stroke, or all below like the average line there. So, I mean, amongst the top grouping, he's lacking at the one thing I really want you to be good at on this golf course. And again, it's a symptom of you can't play everybody. Could he get hot and really spike one of those big weeks? Sure. But I'm willing to take a little bit more of the security and upside considering the same amount of ownership elsewhere.
Yeah, just to give people a sneak peek behind the glass. Of course, if you want these things, this is why you should sign up for Awesemo Plus, even if it's just for the week. We got some great deals, and certainly you are going to want to be a member when NFL rolls around. I could promise you that. Patrick Cantley, we've got around 13% right now. I think that's a fair ownership. It doesn't really move the needle either way. If he's not low owned where I'm like, okay, this is something I've really got to take notice of. He's not chalk by any stretch in a non-cut. So seems pretty reasonable to me. The one guy as we move down that we really haven't talked about, what are you going to do with Tony Finau, who's been a frustrating player in 2021?
Not play him because I don't want to break a TV like you. I can't do those kind of things. Sorry, people. Shots. Well, I mean, it's more of just a fact. It is what it is. Like if you break a TV,
not because of Tony,
are you a TV breaker? Hang on. If you break a TV, are you a TV breaker?
No, I would frame it as I'm a remote thrower.
That makes it better. It just happened to result in a broken
TV. I didn't break a TV. I tossed a remote. And I don't know my own strength, Chad, as you can see. I've been in the gym getting on the Bryson train. Just threw a little too far, nicked the screen. That happens.
Nicked the screen, he says. Just happens to have the plasma and everything just destroy on it. Whatever.
We're gonna just
I'm not gonna play him. I'm not gonna play him. Not going to play him. Straight up, another guy that straight up now telling me, do you really want to love me forever? I don't know why that song came in, but it did. I just can't do it.
Are you rolling those shares to Fitzy? I mean, you alluded to him earlier. You've got Reed, You've got Lowry, Webb. Where do you go? Kind of, we're in that mid to upper 8K range now.
Yeah. So again, a little bit of the reason I'll give you my little bit more reasoning with Finau as well. Smaller greens. I want to get to some guys who can roll it a little bit better. 47th in putting here in this field amongst everybody. That is just kind of an abysmal number. Can he pepper some greens? Can he kind of get it going off the tee? Sure, he absolutely can. But I would rather go down to Fitzy, who can roll it a little bit better. The approach game hasn't been nearly as good, but this seems like a golf course that doesn't really matter for him. 8,800 seems like a nice number to be getting on him as well. And again, this is just a golf tournament where you can kind of play your dudes. And Matthew Fitzpatrick, I feel like, is undervalued by an entire field almost every time, just because he doesn't hit it out there a mile, and he just gets it done in a certain way that other guys don't. You know, he has a 7-wood in the bag. He just kind of methodically plots around a golf course and makes a bunch of birdies because he can putt the lights out of it. And 12% of him, as opposed to going to, I understand Finau sub 10%, but I'd rather just bump up my shares of Fitzy.
No problem with Fitzy. I will say, just to speak to the other side, he's kind of in the can't lay bucket at times. His irons are not nearly as strong as they should or need to be. Right. He's driving the ball much better. He is an immaculate chipper, great putter, one of the best in the world, particularly on Bermuda. His irons have just been weak. He had a string there where he lost in 6 of 7. That's just not good enough for a player of his caliber. So he can get it done in other ways. I think if you're looking for something like him breaking through, he's got to find a way to at least keep those irons, neutral to slightly positive. He's had chances at this course, mostly because of his putter, but if he combines that with the irons, you're going to see him in contention once again.
Okay. Well, all right. Don't like it, but so I said, we're going to have disagreements about certain guys.
I like Fitzy. I'm just saying he needs to be better with his irons if you're talking about him contending.
Yeah, I can't just bring it up and say that I have my concerns about Tony Finau and not say that I have more concerns about the fact that he is 40th Matt Fitzpatrick in this field, 40th out of all qualifiers here in strokes gain approach here out of the 66 guys here in the field that we have over on DK. So I'm just there's definitely something to be said about it, but it seems like on this golf course that doesn't matter. And I am not a huge course history truther by any means, but there are certain guys, especially amongst the elite level, that just kind of seem, I would put Matthew Fitzpatrick as an elite level type player. I mean, almost everybody in this WGC field above 8,500 is, but Matthew Fitzpatrick specifically has the ability to just kind of go out and make it happen on this golf course. And we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, like I said, no problem with Fitzy. That's going to be the catalyst. If he has a big week, though, you will see the irons improve. You've got Reed, you've got Lowry, Webb, who didn't look good. Then he looked good. He was back to his putting wizardry. Then you've got Neiman, Answer, Cam Smith, Corey Connors, and Tommy Fleetwood to round out the 8Ks. That's a lot of names I just threw at you. Feel free to highlight a couple. What do you do here? These are going to be your mid-range plays, maybe in balance builds. They could be your second man in if you went very aggressive and then flat. How do you see yourself going in this range?
I don't like it because I feel like he's a guy that could bury my week if I go a little too crazy with him. But Abraham Answer sticks out for just about everything that I'm doing here for me in this range. I like Abraham Answer, just the iron play and the ability for him to get it going. He's not very good around the greens. If he starts missing greens, it could be a very, very long week for this dude. Again, not the most difficult place to get up and down, but for him, it just seems like he's got to just kind of keep that part of his game going. The putting looks like it's been bad recently here and there, but it's actually been a little bit more improved. He's in the top quarter, I would say top 25% in terms of putting in this field. So, I mean, there's been some spiked weeks. I mean, the Valspar 9.4 strokes game putting. I think the Valspar is a golf course that maybe just putting wise, I'm kind of comping a little bit more, or at least that's what I'm hoping with some of this Bermuda here in this spot. But it seems to be a surface that he goes a little bit better with, other than the players where he lost 3 strokes game putting in that spot as well. I like Abraham Answer a lot. I'd say I'd highlight him out of this grouping. What are you kind of doing with some of these other dudes? Because like Patrick Reed, I have no gauge for whatsoever. Not a single clue what to do with him. Going down a little bit further, getting into the Joaquin Neiman territory. Another guy that I'm just not all that enthusiastic to go nuts with, but Webb Simpson, ultimate wild card, of course.
Tough range. It's tough because there's such a balance. For every guy that's not playing well, whether it's Bryson, Finau, or Patrick Reed, you can swing the pendulum and say, but they're going to be low owned. And in a WGC format, that's pretty lucrative. Reed has just not been great for a while now. He's really not playing good golf. I don't care who you are. It can't be a good thing that he has flown from England to Minnesota to Japan to Memphis. That can't be good.
I called this a little bit earlier in the year too, because he just seemed like he was getting really flat at the top of his golf swing. And he started getting erratic with some of those irons, like in the middle of starting in May. And I don't think I've played him like a single time since then, because it just seemed like something that he wasn't cognizant of and not trying to fix. And Nick Faldo was pointing it out constantly at the Valspar. And it just seems like he hasn't made any kind of the adjustments. And his swing has never looked like this before. If you just look at the top of his backswing, it just gets really flat and laid off. And it's hard for him to get back to the bottom and time it. And I know that that's not something that we're looking at because it's a world-class player, but it doesn't seem like he's making the adjustments that a world-class player should in order to get back on track.
Yeah, Reed's always tricky because he's an incredible, scrambler, putter. He's never going to be best off the tee and with ball striking, but he does look a little off. Neiman's tough because he's a pure scorer. He's a terrible chipper. He's someone that even though they're small greens, he has to hit a lot of them, because if it becomes a scramble fest, he's almost last of the players that we're talking about that I would want in that situation. He can putt well. He scores really well. And we talk about, even last week, when you look at certain guys, it's like, oh, wow, they beat this other guy by 6 shots, but they got outscored by 20 points. The ability to rack up streaks and birdies and be erratic is so lucrative when you get outside the top end placement points. I like Neiman for that. I definitely prefer Answer. I'm going to stick with Tommy Fleetwood. I backed him heavily last week. It wasn't perfect, but at the same time, it wasn't terrible either. He was there with a chance. He didn't have the best Sunday, and he is stringing together some decent finishes. You also have to keep in mind, we've seen him a lot at majors in Europe. We haven't seen him on a ton of courses like this. I think this could be a good fit with him, particularly if he can dial in the irons. And at flat 8K, I like the price tag. I mean, I think most people think that's probably where he should be, and I can't really argue with that. I will say, you see the ownership we have projected on him?
Yeah.
6.8% right now. I think he's going to come in higher than that. But even if he's sub 10, that is a buy spot for me.
He's definitely going to be sub 10, just because Tommy Fleetwood,
the only person who wants to play him.
Well, there's that. You're a sicko, and Tommy Fleetwood. If you just look at, the ball striking has been so bad relative to anybody in this range that there aren't really words for it. Right? Are we kind of in sync on that at least?
Yes, I will give a slight qualifier. A lot of, I know this sounds kind of dumb, he's done some of his best ball striking in events that aren't on strokes gain data because it's been in Europe. So I will say that his irons are a lot better over there. It's true.
Oh my God. Okay.
It is.
Okay.
Now this, I have it on good authority that they are not playing in Europe this week. So that doesn't really help me. But I do think that Fleetwood, also pure score, when he gets going, we saw that Saturday at the Olympics, this guy can go crazy low. And the opportunity cost is not huge for me because I don't really like Corey Connors. I have no problem with the play. I like Answer. Will Z, Kokrak, Sanjay, I like. Harris English. Hey, these are fine players, but I think Tommy Fleetwood at less ownership is more than justifiable.
Oh man, I can't do it. You are a braver man than me at 8K with him. I just think it's much easier for me to kind of go to Will Zalatoris, where you want to talk about ball striking and the ability to pepper greens. That might be a guy that could get it going a little bit here. I do not like his putting of late, for sure. In recent weeks, we've seen some wobbly things out of him on the old PGA Tour. By the way, just a quick aside, the PGA Tour, did you see on that Monday queue, they showed the guy miss like a 12-inch putt, like an unknown dude. Did you see that?
So I saw that, I'm sure most people watch the show. Shout out to the Twitter handle. I think it's, the Monday qualifier. They do great
Monday
work.
Q.
Yeah, Monday Q. I saw it there. That seems just awful.
Yeah, why would they post that? It's a guy who's never qualified for a PGA Tour event, had the biggest moment of his life, and he just rushed it, and you put it up, and I'm hoping that he gets positive exposure from it. I'm hoping JT writes him a check. I hope that that's kind of the result of it, because otherwise, if he doesn't get anything out of that, it seems like a pretty egregious use of a PGA Tour video. But everybody can look that up. That's just simply, as a player, I don't enjoy when people post failure in that context.
You tell them.
It's the hardest sport to be fucking good at. It's so hard. Wow. Sorry.
Tell us how you really get aggressive.
Feel. I really feel that. Anthony Rizzo home run, but also 4 Ks for good old Carlos Carrasco through 3.
A couple more.
Let's go.
Question from Chad, and a good one. Stack bundles. Do you worry / have you heard anything? The last time we saw Will Z was at the Open, and he took a cut out of the nasty fescue, and he got hurt. We haven't seen him since. Do you worry about that, or you think he's rested and good to go?
I think he's good to go. I mean, I haven't seen anything about him being in pain. And the after effects, obviously, he withdrew, and that is what it is. But I would say the more concerning thing for me is just seeing how bad the putter's been since the RBC, or, for sure since the Masters, where he kind of broke out. And we had both talked about being off of him basically here on out, just to basically say, like, he's going to be overowned pretty much every tournament going forward. I think now we're starting to get to buyback territory. I think that this might be the first. I had a little bit the other week as well. Last time he was out, when he took the big hack out of the fescue, and it wasn't anything that was crazy, but underneath 10%, the ability that he has to pepper greens, to ball strike it. Again, smaller greens means shorter putts. I got to think that there's a little bit of correlation with that as well. If he can kind of be flat in that regard, similar to a guy we'll talk about here in a little bit, I think we could be in business.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a situation here in the mid-range. You're going to have a lot of opportunity. I think you've got some good GPP targets. If you're talking more stability and cash, Brian Harmon and Ty Hatton to me, or especially Ty Hatton, I expected him to be more with Ants or Cam Smith, maybe almost $1,000 more expensive. I know he hasn't been great lately, but man, were you as surprised as I think a lot of people were to see Ty Hatton come in at $7,400?
Yeah, it's a dumb number. It's a very, very dumb number. And again, in the range, there's a reason that it's kind of fun, though. It's kind of fun having guys like this, because we can play the ownership game in our heads over and over and over again, because it's a clear misprice. Everybody did this the other week with Sam Burns at the Open Championship, and you have these other guys where there's a clear misprice. But I enjoy that more than it just being categorical based off of odds to win and outrights and having it listed down there. I like when there's clear misprices. I think it becomes a little bit more fun game theory wise, because sometimes people pass over it just because they don't think that it's going to, or they think everybody's going to click that name, and then they come in like Sam Burns did that week underneath 10%. And you just are like, what did I just invest in? That didn't work out well. But I think Tyrell Hatton, different class of player as well. And I think a little bit more secure in that range. I think he probably comes in higher owned than we have him listed. I would be pretty shocked if he weren't, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think he's just going to be a natural. He's going to fit a lot of builds. It's a non-cut, so people just feel more comfortable. If you see a guy that you want to target and it's a non-cut, people click that name. I think Sergio's a very, very interesting pivot. You talked about him on our show this morning, the breakfast menu, elite driver of the ball, probably the worst putter in the field. But if there's one thing to be bad at, it's putting. You can flip it, you can change it. If that's true, because if it wasn't, Sergio would have 0 career wins, and he doesn't. He's won events where he flipped the putter, and the last time we saw it, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Last time he won was at Sanderson Farms. And at Sanderson Farms, coming into that, he had lost in 9 straight events with the putter, and then he gained and he won. And that can happen with a guy like Sergio. So
Sergio Garcia, in the last 50 rounds, second worst putter in this field, 65th out of 66 qualifiers. Who's number 66?
Well, all the people I was going to say, they're so bad that they don't get into WGCs. I was going to say Griot or Kyle Stanley or List, but
it's Cameron Champ, the guy who just got done leading the strokes gained putting at the 3M. Again, I'm just trying to make points, and I felt like that was an educational moment. There you go. Just W, absolute W. Sergio Garcia going to be a big part of my portfolio this week. I love him as a bet outright. There's some 45 to 1s. Don't play those. Find the 60 to 1s at a couple books, and they exist. You need to be shopping your odds. You need to be finding those kind of numbers, because that's the difference between being a positive ROI for a season and being a negative ROI on the season. Put in that work to get there. You just need to.
Oh man, Chad just brought up. I don't know. I would love to help you out on the Justin Rose train. I know he could use a good week. I just don't. This guy, I mean, he flashes with the putter. He flashes in big tournaments. Ball striking has been really bad for a while.
Chipping's been really bad.
And that's even in some ways
that's
more concerning.
Not good for him. Yeah, again, around the green, lost in 4 of his last 5 that we have the data for. The Open wasn't very pretty by any means, 46th there. Yeah, he can spike in this spot, but I would rather go to just about everybody else in this range.
I like him more than that. I think I like him over Pultz and Horschel and those guys.
Pultz, though, I mean, if we're going to talk Pultz, I mean, Pultz is like Bermuda, Florida boy. So
he is.
I got to think we got to have a little bit of Pultz at the 7K.
I don't, it's not that I don't mind him. It's more that I think Rose is more live to have a couple water balls and a lot of birdies. And that really is better. Like Poulter's a very efficient player at times. I think he could grind his way to a middling finish. Rose may have a couple doubles in there and a streak or an eagle. And that's the kind of stuff that really helps. I certainly would rather get to Sergio, Hatton, Harmon, find the extra money there. And let's go, to the salary savers as we work down kind of to this high 6K range. There's some crazy plays. Chad has already mentioned Matthew Wolff. Cam Davis is here. Sam Burns. You mentioned Champ. What do you do with these guys? Because we know they've got upside, but the downside is that they come in last.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's going to happen because I have 35% Sam Burns, and he's my second highest owned golfer for the week, along with Colin Morikawa. I'm pairing them together in a lot of things. All right, so let's go down the Sam Burns train of thought here. The guy has been abysmal of late. In his last 5 tournaments, he's gone out and just kind of laid eggs here constantly. Since the Memorial, I guess his last 4, should I say, the Memorial, US Open, Travelers, the Open, nothing real pretty there. The Travelers actually was a decent enough finish there, but there were 3 weeks in the middle of that where he buried you. He also buried you if you played him in March and April, where he went, miscut, 39th in the middle of those months. But the Valspar and the Byron Nelson, Bermuda greens, first, second, 9.1 strokes gained putting there at the Valspar. I think this could be a decent enough surface for him. He can get that strokes gain approach really firing. He's gained 6 of his last 7 in that regard. We don't have the Open. The Open was obviously egregious for him, so we're going to just kind of write that one off. But 10 of his last 12 tournaments that he's played, he's been gaining strokes with the approach. I really think that he's kind of the boom bust option pretty much every single week that he tees it up, and around 10% that we're seeing for him right now. I just think the win equity for him is so much higher at this range. Like, he makes his finishes count. He's the Kevin Na kind of example that we talk about all the time. And so I'm happy to be invested over, because if you saw him a little bit more expensive, you'd see like no ownership. I'd probably have even more in that regard, and I'd really feel gross. But I think that at 6,900, I'm happy to have him just kind of be a make or break piece of my week, because he could finish 5th and he could finish dead last, but that's what you're kind of targeting in a GPP.
Yeah, you need your guys, certainly. And someone's going to emerge. We saw it. Rory Sabatini was not who I thought would do that, but someone from the clouds, even CT Pan, those are the type of guys last week that made the difference. I like Cam Davis, I think, a little more than you, but the guy I want to talk about is Kevin Kisner, because to me, he does it very differently, but he also can spike. And we finally have seen a little of that in recent weeks. He wasn't good at the Open, but he was 8th at Rocket Mortgage, 5th at Travelers. He made over 20 birdies at Rocket Mortgage. Elite putter, doesn't get, crushed by distance here. I think Kevin Kisner is in a fine spot to roll the dice. If you get the putter going there, watch out. He can score a ton.
Not only that, he had one bad round at the Open. I mean, he hit it in some wayward places in that 3rd round, shot 78. And I love targeting guys who have one bad outlier round in the middle of their last couple stretch, because if he plays well, if he shoots like 70 in that round, 8 shots better, that finish looks so much different, and that ownership becomes so much more extreme for 6,800 Kevin Kisner. You would have been looking at his last 3 tournaments and been like, what do we do with a 25% Kevin Kisner? So I love that you bring that up, because he's definitely somebody that I'm over the field on as well. He kind of stood out to me. Matthew Wolff, everybody's bringing up here. I'm not going to do it. I love the Wolff talk. I want to cheer for Matt Wolff. I would rather click on Kisner. And I think, the ownership isn't that drastic between the two. I mean, Matt Wolff's 5%, Kevin Kisner's 8%. just give me 16% of Kistner. I'll make all my Kistner shares more viable here. Matthew Wolff, sure, there's upside that exists there. We just haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I do worry about his off the tee game at times is gone. He was never a good scrambler. A lot of downside. Wolff is I think ultimately going to be really good. And we've seen flashes of that already. I'm going to bring up Max Homa as we work down. He's someone that has been very erratic. Was really good at Valspar, was really good at Memorial, has done nothing else. I like his game if he can get it going off the tee and he can spike with the putter. He loses a lot with the putter, but when he gains, it's like 5+ strokes. Mm-hmm. And that is always a very intoxicating thing. Big risk reward. I don't think you want to go anywhere near there in terms of like a single entry or cash. But if you're looking for an aggressive pivot, maybe that's someone like Max Homa in my book.
Yeah, love Max Homa just about every single week. I'd say the highest class, like Sam Burns has spiked some weeks. I mean, Max Homa, couple-time winner now on the PGA Tour. Riviera played so good there. We've seen him just have these massive spike weeks, as you said. And I think at this range, that's what we're looking for, is just having some major upside to win a tournament. You're not winning a tournament going down to 6,900 in a no-cut event and having somebody finish 48th. So you might as well click on some of the dudes who have the potential to get in the top 5, top 10.
We've got about 10 minutes left here. And certainly I'm not going to be breaking any news that the NFL season kicks off tomorrow. We're going to have coverage. We're going to have content. We're going to have projection. We got everything. Just come back tomorrow for all things NFL. No better place to be with Awesemo.com. The back end guys, what they do with projections and getting everything ready is just amazing. And certainly there's going to be articles and content getting you up to speed. So I'm super excited for that. And if you guys haven't, I know you're on this channel and we appreciate most of you are already subscribed. The Awesemo Odds betting channel is officially live. A lot of the videos that you guys are used to seeing or new ones that you haven't seen are over there talking about these fields, talking about these contests from a betting standpoint. We have that and also the fantasy football channel with Lofty and the whole team. I did a show with Eitan over there today. Load of fun. I know Eric's been over there doing great work. So make sure to support all the channels because we want you guys to make sure you're getting the best info for every different angle. That is our vision here, and that's what we're going to do. Last remaining guys, any cheapies? I know that Jim Herman, I think, is playable at flat 6. Aaron Rye was brought up in chat as a sleeper. I have no problem with that. Where are you drawn if you really need to punt?
If you really need to punt, Aaron Rye would be the guy that I would kind of be clicking on a little bit more. Jim Herman, man, make a case for that dude, because you brought him up earlier today, I think in jest, just kind of like whatever. And I know the form has been so much better the last 4 rounds here, or the last 4 times out. Not very good around the green here, but can get off the tee. Seems like he's ball striking it pretty darn well. Putter's always been pretty decent for him. Maybe I'm making the case as I'm talking through it. I just don't want to click on an old ass Jim Herman.
I mean, I think it's honestly a pretty easy case to make. He's playing better than a flat 6K guy, and he has the opportunity to give you permutations that you just can't get without a flat 6. I have no interest in him in theory. It's more what he unlocks by doing that. And he has shown he can give you a top 20, a fringe top 20. If he does that, okay, he cancels out maybe someone we're playing at 68 or 71. Now I have $1,100 to double up top with a Morikawa Rory, a Morikawa JT type, combo. And that is the case, I think, to be made for a guy like Herman.
Okay. Yeah. For me, Aaron Rye played well in this event, finished 12th last time out. I know that was somebody where we don't see him a whole lot over here in America, but when he does, he typically plays pretty well. He missed the cut at the PGA, at the Open, top 20 there as well. I think just underneath at this price range, he would kind of be my favorite dude underneath 6,500, other than Lucas Glover, who I just am sick and sadistic and will continue to play. And obviously now he has the win at the John Deere to kind of back that up a little bit here. But I think there is some upside that exists for him as well.
Yeah, Aaron Rye coming off 63rd at the old Kazoo Open, which didn't know that was a thing. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm saying that we don't see him a lot, and when it seems 12th, it's a golf course that I think sets up decently enough. What?
I don't even have to Google. I'll just ask chat because we have the best chat. Chat, where's the Kazoo Open? Because I'm very interested in where that is. Obviously, it's on the European Tour. I want answers though. Someone tell me where the Kazoo Open is. In terms of lineup construction, I know you've talked about, and you can get all of Eric's pro plays as well as mine and the whole team's over on the site as part of the premium package. Are you envisioning if you're starting Morikawa, how low do you think an ideal lineup lands? Is it mid sixes? Is it upper or lower sevens? Like how do you see yourself kind of constructing?
Yeah, I'm going to get myself into the upper sixes as well. I mean, Morikawa, Louis, I can still kind of be upper sixes and make a pretty balanced rest of my build that way. I don't have to be going completely punt city. It seems like I'm ending up in this upper six. I mean, Sam Burns, I talked about how egregiously overweight I am on him, but just feels like a stand that I'm willing to take. Kevin Kistner, we both like him this week as well. Somebody that I think sticks out in that range as well. The one guy we didn't even really talk about, Bobby Mack, did we?
No. So Bobby Mack and Ryan Palmer are tough ones that I looked at. I would have no fault if someone said, I want to go there. And Bobby Mack, I thought was a really not easy, but he was an avoidable landmine the last time at the 3M. I have more interest here, but he's another one. He can't putt at all.
Nope.
And that is a concern.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to at least bring him up because he was somebody I was contemplating pumping up a little bit more, but pass then.
You're not, last thing before we get to our hot takes, you're not playing Phil, are you?
No.
Okay. I just had to make sure.
Of course, history be damned or whatever. I know people are playing Phil. I don't. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Neither can I.
Like, what in the world are we talking about?
I mean, the Phil, I'm not even going to make bold statements anymore because I've been eternally punished. It's in Wales, the Kazoo Open. Appreciate that. That was not on the bingo card. I would have said many places before Wales. Okay, good for them. See, would never have guessed that. Neither would I. Hot take time, chat. Let's pump up those likes. We got a lot of people watching for the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational, and we appreciate that. If there's anything you guys want to see, you can hit up Eric at Eric Lindquist on Twitter. Give me a follow at JazzRazDFS. We're always trying to keep in touch with you guys, and we love the feedback and just getting the support. Hot take. You've done all sorts of hot takes over the year. You got people fighting, guys winning, cuts, this, that. Where are you drawn to tonight?
I mean, they've been pretty decent here and there, I would say.
Yeah, not bad.
I was going to say the Detroit one sticks out where I faded the entire 10K plus range and said none of them would finish top 30, and they didn't. That was enjoyable. And now we're okay. So now I'm going to give you three guys who finished top 10. We're just going to do it right down the line. 3 top 10 bets. I'm just going to go boom, boom, boom. My version of the trifecta, if you will. I'm going to go that way. Also, I'm so upset at that number 4 horse. What in the world are we doing with our lives?
We almost had it.
Oh, God, 31-1 would have been an enjoyable afternoon. I am going to be going with Sergio Garcia, Sam Burns, and Louis Oosthuizen is going to be your top 5. I'll make him your top 5 out of the grouping. Those are my 3 guys. Two more punts and 1 guy a little bit more expected to be in the top 5 because that's all Louis does is top 5.
I like it. Listen, you've got 2 strong drivers of the ball. You've got Usti, who's just been as consistent as can be. I have no problem with any of that. I don't know exactly where I'm going to go here. I'm not going to lie.
Get off the reservation. You play it way too safe with your hot takes. You got to, you know what? You got to go a little bit off the board for me. Give me something ridiculous. Give me something ridiculous.
Ridiculous?
Don't like Jim Herman top 10. How about that?
No. I mean, I was going to say it's not going to happen, but most of my hot takes don't happen. So that's really not a prerequisite for what I say around these parts. I'm going to go to the top 5 market. You know, we've talked about, I was going to give an outright, but honestly, I've given DJ, I've given Scheffler. I certainly think all these elite guys are going to win. And I honestly do believe this tournament's going to be won by a pretty big name. We see WGCs, and most of the time it's one of the best players in the world. I'm going to give Kevin Kisner out, though, as a potential top 5. It's 18-1. To me, that's a pretty good number. This is a guy, again, you need his putter to cooperate, but he's shown he can do that. He's not afraid of a strong field. He's competed in majors. He knows what he's doing. And I think this is an underrated course for him, actually. When you think about where Kiz excels and where he doesn't, more importantly, the length really gets him. He's been adamant about that. Like Augusta will never be his place, as he said many times. I'm going to say that a guy who's been runner-up at Heritage, runner-up at API, and runner-up at the Players, he can get in the top 5 here. And at 18-1, worth rounding out your card with a splash of Kisner this week.
God, I love it. Yep. I'm going to add that one to my card. I mean, the 3 that I brought up are all on my card here right now. I have outrights. Again, I do think these WGCs tend to get won by bigger names. It's just such a high class of field, but there's not a lot of value in betting 10 to 1 and 12 to 1 on guys week in, week out here. There was no way I was going to bet Koepka. DJ, when that number started climbing, you'd think that was something to jump on, but I like the 31 to 1 Scheffler call. I like the 60 to 1 Sergio number that I talked about earlier, and throwing Sam Burns 80 to 1. I think that those are all three pretty live players, and Kistner top 5 going to definitely be in the mix now.
Yeah, I like it. I think we've done some good work here, and it's true. That's why they're hot takes. Next week, tune back in. I'm gonna get a crazy hot take. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna find something outrageous for the Wyndham to round out the year. We've got FedEx Cup playoffs coming fast and furious. Good luck to anyone in the fantasy world, golf, whatever it's called. Hope you survive and continue to cut to that top 100. But on that note, we're gonna bounce on out of here. It's been a really fun show, chat. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button on the way out, and again, subscribe to that channel. We love having you as part of the community. Much more PGA from Awesemo.com coming up next week. Good luck, and we'll see you then.